Welcome. I'm Liz Priestman, the host of IDG's From the Top video interviews, and this is our Executive Edge series. Today I'm joined by Sir Michael Fallon, former Secretary of Defense for the UK, whose career spans pivotal roles in both defense and energy policy, providing us with a unique perspective on the intersection of geopolitics, resources, and security. Sir Michael, it's an honor to have the opportunity to discuss the global dynamics and challenges of critical minerals and energy demands. Welcome. Critical minerals are the backbone of modern technologies, including defense applications, yet the supply chains are heavily concentrated, with China dominating production and processing. Sir Michael, how do you view the global competition for critical minerals, and what strategies should nations adopt to secure stable and sustainable access?
States have got to wake up to global competition in the minerals. Absolutely right. First, they've got to map the key sectors. I think a lot of countries aren't really aware of where their dependencies are, whether it's technology, whether it's energy, whether it's defense. They've got to understand those weaknesses, and they've got to understand the pressures, particularly the volatility we've seen in some of the prices of critical minerals, and where some of those minerals are dependent on a single source. And that may be a source in a country that is not just unfriendly, but it might well be weak or unstable. So I think countries now really have got to look across their supply of critical minerals and work out how they can help secure that. That means either supporting on the supply side by intervening, by subsidizing some of the processes, the extraction, the processing, and whatever, or by incentivizing their own industry to look abroad to get the right kind of sources, offering softer export finance, for example, for sourcing these minerals from friendly countries. So this is something where governments really have to wake up.
The rapid adoption of AI and the proliferation of data centers are creating enormous energy and materials demands. Sir Michael, how can governments and private sectors globally address the resource and energy challenges posed by this growing demand?
Well, different countries, are looking at addressing this in different ways, but all of them want to make sure they have long-term protection against these potential weaknesses in their supply chains. Now, some will be looking at how they help the supply side. Do they invest? Do they subsidize domestic production? Do they expedite planning processes, particularly in the more sensitive areas like processing of these various minerals? Or perhaps more importantly, what do they do to incentivize the demand side? How can they ensure that companies really have an incentive to invest and to build up their productive capacity? And there, I think there's a lesson to be learned from the work that's been done in energy markets over the last 10 years, where government, through forward markets, really is establishing an offtake, that government will be there, will take a certain amount, which helps to bench the price, reduce volatility, and give companies an incentive to get on and invest in this critical area.
With critical minerals now central to both economic growth and national security, what role do international alliances play in building resilient supply chains? And do you see a scope for a global framework or new trade agreements to reduce dependencies on a single nation or region?
Well, can international alliances help here? Absolutely, because the unfriendly countries are working against us here. You've seen that with the recent decision on China to restrict the supply of some of the critical minerals. You've seen that in the volatility of the pricing of some of these minerals, the way in which some countries are controlling the supply to make it more difficult for the democracies. So how do the democracies handle this? There could be more trade agreements, sure, but these take a long time to get going, to get signed. They usually involve so many countries that it can take years. I think more likely is you'll see some of the key allies working together. The United Kingdom and the United States, I hope, fairly obviously, perhaps also through AUKUS, the United States, United Kingdom, and Australia, and perhaps other countries that are joining in AUKUS on the Pillar 2 of AUKUS, so Japan, South Korea, and so on, where democracies can work together and look at their own particular dependencies and see if they can cooperate. And you may see something on the European side. You may see more European countries working together on various key defense programs. But what's important is for the democracies to recognize is this is part of the fight and the challenge that we now face from these hostile countries. You've seen in the BRICS recent summit, there are countries now that really want to reassert themselves against the democracies, have different values, and they are using critical minerals as one of the ways of asserting their leverage over the West. So we really need to sharpen up now and to make sure that we're not frozen out when it comes to the critical minerals we need. Obviously for our technology companies, obviously for our energy companies, but most importantly of all, for the defense of our own nation states.
Thank you, Sir Michael, for this fascinating discussion. Your insights into the global dynamics of critical minerals, defense, and energy offer invaluable perspectives for understanding the challenges and the opportunities that lie ahead in these interconnected fields. Thank you.
Elizabeth, thank you for those questions. They go right to the heart of the matter. Thank you so much for interviewing me this afternoon.